And as we offer to these class of beings, those realms are completely cleared away. They're totally liberated. And if you do the practice right, then samsara should come to an end right in the middle of your practice.
And a little bit of effort on your part, and you can really do something meaningful. So this act of generosity, I think, is really profound. And not to mention, it will benefit all sentient beings and humans in general as we help improve our relationship to them.
There's so much joy in it. Because you are, as you said beautifully, you are offering love.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Denver Dzogchen podcast. I'm once again here with Joseph Wagner, and today we're going to continue our series on generosity. Last time, we talked about the importance of making offerings in general, substantial financial offerings to our teachers and to the translation companies and these sorts of things. And today we're going to continue with a amazing practice that you can do at home very easily to support the local beings in your area, called song offering. This is one of four major kinds of offerings that you can do every day. And we're going to talk about some of those in the upcoming episodes, but this is a morning practice. And welcome, Joe. I'll let you go ahead and introduce the practice and share a little bit about it.
Thanks, Damien. Welcome, everybody. There are four types of generalized offerings that we can do at four different periods of the day in Vajrayana. This one's called song. There's the song, and then in the middle of the day or middle of the morning, you can do the water torma, and then in the evening, you can do the sur, and then in the nighttime, you're supposed to do the chud. And so these are four different types. They're different. They have different focuses, but they all have these four guests as their main, as their heart. And you're making offers to these four types of guests. So the song itself is, as far as we know, it actually isn't from India like so many Tibetan practices are. It was a native Bunpo practice of offering to the Hla, the gods in the sky, the gods that control the weather, and the beings who are in charge of the circumstances of our lives. And when the Tibetans came, or when the Dharma came to Tibet, the masters saw people doing this, and rather than try to stamp it out like the Christians have done so many places in the world, they adopted it. The Buddhists are very clever in this way. They adopted it and said, we have those beings too, and we can make offerings to the local deities, as Damien said. But we can also add in these other beings like the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, the protectors, and so forth. And in that way, we can turn something you're already familiar with into a practice of Dharma. So that's how it got started, as far as I understand.
Yeah. And this is one of the first practices I really got into with Kilung Rinpoche. And it has such, people generally love it because it has very tribal feeling to it. You know, you're going outside and you're offering incense or powdered incense, or you're sometimes ideally creating kind of like a large fire, and then burning this, and you feel very connected to the earth. Kilung Rinpoche often calls it, he says, it should be your cup of coffee. It helps wake you up. It energizes you. It stimulates you, gets the merit wheels turning. Very helpful practice to start your day. And it can be done in a very, very simple way, all the way to a very elaborate way. So maybe you talk a little bit more. What are the four guests, and what does the structure of this practice look like?
Okay. Well, what you're really doing, as Damien just beautifully said, is you're making ideally a fire outside. For those of us who live in urban areas, this may not be possible. There may be, local laws against that, in which case you can use what's called Sancho incense, or Riwo Sancho incense. Riwo Sancho is a specific liturgy that you can use for this practice. It's available online, but there are many different types of song offering. It just means a burnt offering, a smoke offering. So these are the smoke when you make the fire, then you put dampened juniper on it primarily, and the smoke, if you do a big one, it's really cool. It goes up in the air and it swirls around, and it feels very auspicious. You're supposed to do it in the morning. This is the morning one. So when we say the morning, we mean before noon your time. You can do it anytime anytime during the day, but most auspicious to do it in the morning. This is like the first thing you do in the day. So the basic structure is you say prayers, you burn these things, and then you don't only burn the juniper, you burn the 3 whites and the 3 sweets and other types of auspicious offerings like ground up foodstuffs and medicines and so forth as an offering of all that is desirable. And who are you offering it to? You're offering it to 4 classes of beings. The most important, or the first ones who get the main part, are the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Those are the fully enlightened Buddhas on the 10th bhumi or the 13th bhumi, depending on your structure. And then all the Bodhisattvas. A Bodhisattva is someone who entered the path of seeing, meaning they have seen the truth of emptiness in a direct way. And at that point, you are called an enlightened being on some level. You're enlightened on some level. And then there are sort of 10 rungs to the ladder of accomplishment, sometimes 13 rungs, sometimes you even see more than that. The basic idea, though, is that you enter into this state of being a bodhisattva because you see that you don't exist in the same way you thought, and your self-grasping and your self-clinging is cut through to some degree. And then you're no longer an ordinary person. You're worthy of offerings. So you, the Bodhisattvas and the Buddhas who have taken the path all the way to the complete end, they are the subject of the first part of the offering. So you build this fire or you burn this incense, and it contains all these holy things and all these special substances. And as the smoke goes up, you are visualizing, usually as you recite Om Ahum, which is like a body, speech, and mind blessing. You're visualizing light rays going out, and at the end of every light ray is a little goddess, and the goddess has got all these different types of offerings, and they make these offerings to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Of course, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas don't need anything. They are already accomplished. But we imagine that we're making offerings because what happens to us? We receive that merit that comes. It's like by giving, we receive. And this is the best type of offering goes to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Second type are the protectors. And this includes the protectors like Damchen Dorje Lekpa, and Ekajati, and Mahakala, the ones you're familiar with as like the lords of Dharma, who are enlightened beings, also their retinues, who are semi-worldly, and also the local deities of the place that live in the place where you are. And sometimes these are it's called sadak or something like that. There are many classifications of this in the Tibetan world. There are some books about it if you're interested. In general, you're making offerings to those forces that bless the land where you're making this offering. Those who live in the sky, those who live on the earth, those who live in water, those who live underground, and as well as the protectors of the Dharma teachings who were tamed by great masters in the past, like Padmasambhava, and sort of brought into the Buddhist family to protect the practitioners from distraction and too many obstacles and so forth. So that's the second set of guests, are these local protectors, and then the supreme protectors that we all make offerings to every day in the Vajrayana. The third class of beings is the 6 classes. We got the gods, we got the demi-gods, we got humans, we've got the pretas, we got the hell beings, and we got the animals. And all these beings are, they have something they want, right? So you're offering to them. I didn't say about the protectors, they like blood and guts. They're like monsters kind of. So they want like intense offerings. And when you make offerings to them, they feel extremely excited and they carry out their activities, which is very profound. When you make offerings to the 6th class of beings, you give them what they'd want, right? If you think, what do humans want? They want $100,000 Amazon gift cards. They want their mortgage to be paid off, right? They want a better car, a nicer job, or a better partner, whatever. So whatever you think they would like, you imagine that goes out. And then the humans, in this particular case, we just say the humans, when they receive those, they have everything they want. They become whole, complete, just like in the Great Perfection, and they're liberated from samsara. And you imagine that the whole of the human world is cleared out, both on our planet and, if you like, all other planets that have human-like beings, if there are those. Same thing for the one step up, the demigods, one step up from that, the gods. We give them what they want. And as we offer to these class of beings, those realms are completely cleared away. They're totally liberated. And if you do the practice right, then samsara should come to an end right in the middle of your practice, which is pretty awesome. So you know if you did it, Pretty cool. So you clear out, you make offerings to the gods, the demigods, the humans, the animals, the hungry ghosts, and the hell beings. And in the song offering, we make offerings to all these. In the sewer offering, which is the third one we do at the time of nightfall, we focus specifically on the pretas, the hungry ghosts, because they cannot receive offerings, they cannot find food or drink unless it is specifically offered to them. And so we will talk about that in another podcast. But there are different focuses for these different aspects of the practice. So in this case, we're offering to everybody, especially the gods in the sky, so to speak, like the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So we finish with the 6 class of beings, and then comes my very favorite part, and I think the most magical part of all of these offerings. We make those 4 offerings to anytime we do any of these 4 types of practice, but in Sancho, it's specific to all of your karmic creditors. We go through our lives and we have so many debts, right? Not only to our parents and people who supported us and our teachers in school and all this stuff, of course, but also to like all of our partners, those relationships that didn't work out. There's a little bit of like there. And in this way, we offer to them everything that they want. And when that happens, you can really feel the kind of fulfillment and disconnect from these sort of negative parts of your past. So you're making these offerings. I find the practice incredibly powerful. And you can do that whoever comes up, right? Oh, here my grandmother came up. Oh, wow. And make offerings to her, and maybe she comes up again. You're like, oh, wow, I must have some karmic debt there. And where does that debt lie? In our own psyches. But by making this offering, you really can purify all these links that you have. And it's, I think it's very psychologically powerful. I've found that, like old friends or something where I thought I was the one who got burned in the relationship and it was really their fault that we're no longer friends, just as an example, personal example. They keep coming up. I must owe them. I didn't realize it. So you can make offerings to them again and again every time you do the practice, and it is so cleansing and so purifying. So those are kind of the four guests. Go over it one more time. The Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, the protectors, both local protectors and lords of the earth, so to speak, and also the like Mahakala and the great Dharma protectors. The 6 classes of beings, and then your own karmic creditors to whom you owe debts of food, place, and wealth, as they say. And by doing this, not only do you feel tremendously freed from your own past bad actions, but you also make amazing amount of merit. And it's a beautiful practice in itself. It's like a very cool thing to do.
Yeah. One of the things that's so powerful about this practice is that a huge amount of the problems we're seeing in the modern world has to do with our negative relationship to the earth and to the beings that live here. And, during COVID, many lamas recommended this practice because new contagious diseases are considered in Tibetan medicine to be the result of the irritation of a class of spirits like this. Often mamos are one class. And we have to think, air pollution, the pollution from our cars, the Wi-Fi, all kinds of pollution that we are creating. We have no idea how we are affecting the world due to our carelessness. And this karmic debt we have also with animals we consume and the different beings that support our life in all kinds of ways, that this is part of what brings about some of the difficulties we experience in the world. And one way to heal this and repair this is song offering. And so you have to think that, the stewards of this land, especially in North America, was primarily the Native Americans, right? The different tribes, they had these kind of practices. But since the colonization of these places, that kind of activity ceased almost entirely. And so we can take that back up again and think about all of these beings who haven't been acknowledged, haven't been cared for, haven't been respected in hundreds of years. Now could be like, wow, somebody acknowledges me, and think very positively towards humans. Give us a chance again, because I can imagine that they're probably very frustrated with us. And so I think this is such a profound way to work with the land, right? Like we can go to different parks and places of natural beauty, and especially where you live, and to think about harmonizing the elements and relationship to the earth and to the beings that live here that we're beyond our comprehension. I think this is so powerful and so helpful and so meaningful. And, often as Dharma practitioners, we long to do something, right? We want to help, but we never know how to help. Like, you can feel so helpless. This is a really easy way to help. You can go to different places that need this energy and uplift the energy with not much cost and a little bit of effort on your part. And you can really do something meaningful. So this act of generosity, I think, is really profound. And not to mention, it will benefit all sentient beings and humans in general as we help improve our relationship to them.
I think that's beautifully said. Yeah, we've been a real plague on the earth, especially in the last 150 years since the industrial age really got going, where our improvements in medicine specifically made it that people don't die. They just keep on trucking. And so there are more and more people, and everybody wants the same thing, right? And not just people in America, everybody wants the same thing. They want cars, they want families, they want all this business, and it's very taxing on the earth. And I think we're seeing the effects of that in a terrifying way, right? Whether you, I suppose no one watching this is a climate change denier. It's happening, whether we want to acknowledge it or not. And this is a way that at the very least we can repair our own individual relationship with the earth, because we're part of this. We're part of this destruction of this incredibly beautiful world that we were offered, that we've been given. Not only that, I think it's also, from a Buddhist perspective, it's good to think about all the different types of beings. When we make these offerings, it's like a triangle, right? Or like a pyramid, I guess is better. The very tip represents the gods, the demigods, and the humans. Then, if you just think about how many animals there are, for Buddhists we include insects as animals, compared to the number of humans, there are probably more humans within like more animals and insects and so forth within a quarter of a mile of me in the middle of Denver than there are humans on the earth. I'm sure that's true. So you think as the pyramid goes down, it's greater and greater numbers. We can make offerings to them. And then below the animals, it's much more, they're pretas, they're hell beings. And we can make direct offerings to them in a way that has immediate effect. I'm not particularly psychic myself, but it seems you can really feel it when you make the offerings. I'm sure you're more psychic than me, so you can probably sense this even more. But especially with the sewer, which is the one that I have the most personal experience with, you really feel like you're doing something good. Sometimes your hair will all stand up. You're like, they're really here. They're here because I am making these offerings to them, and they need it. And so it's not only for humans, right? Because people might say like, well, you're making a fire, pollution, it's actually bad for the environment. This is like not thinking correctly in the middle of it. What we're doing is we're using these special methods of the Vajrayana, like visualization, mantra recitation, and so forth, and the view especially, to expand the benefit from making a little one incense stick offering in our yard to benefit all beings throughout space and time. And you don't have to believe it. You can try it and you will know. It has an effect. And that effect is something that is good for others. All these sentient beings who receive absolutely nothing but our not completely digested car emissions. That's all they're getting from us right now. Now, all of a sudden, they get something positive. And I think that Damien's right in thinking that it could change their opinion a little bit, so to speak, about humans. They're like, well, there are some humans who are not doing only bad things. Good. That's good. And maybe that will shift how the earth unfolds over the next period.
Yeah, because what is an offering other than love? Right? I mean, the basis of an offering is just love. And we're working in all these skillful methods to expand our love, increase our love, and connect that love to things that we ignore, right? Like the fundamental problem among humans and sentient beings is ignorance, right? We ignore aspects of our experience because we've lost our sensitivity. We're dull to things because of all kinds of reasons.
Minded focus, yeah.
Yeah, we've limited ourselves, and so that we're broadening our love and broadening our capacity. And I wanted to say a little bit about more about the visualization, one thing that was really helpful for me, and another generosity practice you can do, is there's a prayer called the King of Aspiration prayers. Sometimes it's called the Sutra Aspiration of Samantabhadra. It comes out of the Avatamsaka Sutra. And it's this beautiful, amazing description of offering infinite pure lands to infinite sentient beings. And this is often suggested directly in the song liturgies to have this kind of visualization. So if you want to recite that, and that could be at any time of day, especially at the end of a practice session, it's like a dedication, a purification, a confession, and an offering. And by doing that, you can really get a feel for what this feels like to really offer in an opulent and massive way. But you also can offer in different levels, and maybe you would say a little bit about this, Joe. You could kind of offer in a simple Dzogchen way. You could offer in a complex Vajrayana way. We can offer, there's different ways to approach this. So maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
I think it's good to do it in the most vast possible way. Most of us, if you're a Dzogchen person, you're practicing Trekcho, you're trying to recognize the view, your recognition of the view is so shaky and kind of like based on circumstance, so temporary, so shallow for most of us, that only relying on that is not maybe the best possible way. The best possible way is to do that as much as you can, and from that, and what is that? It's just a state of wholeness, a state of completeness, a state of overflow of having enough, more than enough. And if you see it that way, and then out of that, you imagine that the outflow of having so much is all beings get what they want. Not only Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, but every insect finds exactly that, every fly finds exactly that perfect piece of poo that they've been looking for, or whatever. There's so much joy in it because you are, as you said beautifully, you are offering love. You're offering, what would you do if you had everything? Here you are, you're imagining yourself, if we look at the Riwo Sancho, which is the most famous of these texts, it was written by, or revealed as a terma by Lhasa Namkha Jigme, and then the Jigdro Yeshe Dorje, who passed away in the 80s, he codified it and put it in a liturgical setup that we can use. This is maybe the most famous of the song offerings. In there, you're imagining yourself as Guru Padmasambhava. What is that? That's complete, Buddha, whole, all negative aspects of the human eradicated, all positive aspects brought to the ultimate. One of those is infinite generosity. So here you get to be Guru Rinpoche, and you get to offer as you would if you were a world emperor. If you had infinite money, right? If you had infinite money, every hobo you passed on the street would no longer be a hobo, right? Right? You would just be like, you're coming with me, and you're coming with me. And you would be able to sweep before you all beings and fulfill their every wish. Here you get to actually do that. And in doing that, you get to enjoy what that's like. So, it's fun. It creates tremendous merit, and it's tremendously beneficial. And you yourself sense it immediately because your heart gets much bigger. Here you are. I get to be whole. So in terms of your actual question about just doing it as a Dzogchen thing, it's nice to do the visualization too. You can flash on your recognition and flash on the visualization of infinite purity being offered, infinite beings being benefited. And then again, when you get distracted in that, you look and see, there's nobody home here. I'm whole. I'm complete. I can do this. And that feels amazing. It's actually, they're beautiful practices. They really carry a lot of weight psychologically too.
And don't feel stressed about it. Pacha Rinpoche's lineage on the way of the Bodhisattva, he says very clearly that offerings to the Buddha and these kind of visualized offering only need to be flashed. You don't have to hold this detailed image. You can just feel what it feels like. All these billionaires, you're like, how are they not doing this, right? How are they not out there just helping beings? No, instead they're hoarding it on their yachts, driving me crazy. But, you can imagine. Crazy.
We are so tight-fisted as humans. It's really depressing. As beings.
It really is.
But here we
Well,
get
could
to
you imagine how it would feel to be like that, to have billions of dollars and be able to go and just make people's day all day long? You know, you kind of, at least like Mr. Beast is kind of famous, right? The YouTuber, for doing that, for going around and making people's lives turn around with money. What an incredible ability and feeling. The result of the merit to get that kind of wealth, we can kind of get a feeling for that by doing these kind of practices. You can imagine. Yeah.
And you get
a little bit of Oprah.
Some of the same kind of merit that you would get if you were Oprah and you were being able to, like, I mean, think about it. If you're an author and you are on, I don't even know if Oprah's on TV anymore, but when she was, if she had an author on there, you're done. You're finished. Yep. You got your next book and your book after that. And this one's going to the bestseller list right now. Think about how good that had to feel to Oprah, right? Here's someone she believes in and she makes it possible. You're like the ultimate universal gardener, right? You have the pot of water that when you put it on the plant is like Jack and the Beanstalk plant. Here you get to, I almost said pretend. It is kind of pretending, but it's pretending with the force of the Dharma behind you. And it is very powerful. And so these things, I say the same thing every time, but all you have to do is try it. You can try it and you can see. Now, I want to say one thing about this, because we are talking about practices that usually you need a reading transmission for. I would say it's better to do one of these practices. If it's available online, it's in the public domain. It's better to do it even if you don't have the transmission than it is to not do it. You know, it would be my feeling. And if I get the curses of all the lamas for that, then hey, that's okay. But if you are serious about doing this, it works better if you receive the lung. One of the meanings of the word lung in Tibetan, which means reading transmission, for us, it also means the handle on a pot. You can't pick up a hot pot with that handle, and you can't really operate the text without the lung. So you should seek it out. And this is something that lamas love to give. So you could probably phone one up on the phone and they'd give it to you, you know? And it's given from time to time if you want to receive that. But you can also just practice. You can get the incense, you can set it up, and you can do it, and you can see, do I have a link with this? And I think you'll find you do. And then you can seek out the transmission if you don't have it already. So I'm not saying the transmission's not important. It sure is, but don't let that be like, I can't do it because I don't have such and such and such. Yeah. Better to just proceed and then see. And in this case, it's like they say in the military, it's easier to get forgiveness than it is permission. So onward. That's what I say.
Yeah, and if you even are intimidated by that, then just get the incense and go outside and just do refuge and bodhicitta, and then just do Om Ahung with it, and then dedicate the merit. That'll do the same function.
Exactly. You can do that. I mean, you could make your own song offering. There are 4 guests, the greatest beings, whoever you think of, the protectors of those teachings that those beings are expounding. All classes of beings, everybody knows them, and your own karmic creditors. You could do that with an incense stick in the ground. You can do it in your house. It's nice to do it outside, and if you're going to make a fire, of course you do it outside. But if you can't, you can do it in your room. It's okay. I know some people in Singapore, they're like, we can't do this because you can get arrested. And I get it. So in your house, just do it that way. And the piece of incense can be this long. The visualization can be 2 minutes. But doing it, you participate. What do you participate in? Your innate wholeness. And that's the whole of the spiritual path. The whole goal is to recognize we are complete. And in that completion, we're overflowing. What are we overflowing with? Love. And that love is generosity, as we said in our last episode. These things are all interlinked.
Yeah. And I even have a friend who lived in an apartment. And so they, you know, those little, what's it called? Like a nebulizer with the essential oils. Yeah. You just plug in and you just use one of those. I mean, it's the same principle, right? Because it's, yeah, we got to broaden our mind and use the substantial basis, whatever that is, and then we can really get into this feeling of, because I wanted to say too that one way you can look at karma is what karma's habits, right? Mm-hmm. So by creating the habit of giving everything away, we're setting ourselves up to become a Buddha, right? Because what does a Buddha do? Give everything away. So get in the habit of giving everything away all the time. This is the kind of habits we want to create.
Well said. Yeah. This is all. Yeah.
Well, thank you again, everybody, for watching. We will continue this series. We'll talk about water tormas, we'll talk about Sur offering, and we'll talk about chut, and these incredible methods for really enhancing your merit and in propelling you on the path and training yourself to let go of everything that we're clinging to. This is so wonderful. If you enjoy this, please do us the favor of liking, sharing, subscribing, and making a comment. It really helps us out in the algorithm. And check us out on Wednesday night live. We have the Denver Dzogchen Clear Light Meditation at 5 p.m. Pacific time. That's right here on YouTube. You can just follow along, turn on your TV. Great introduction to the Dharma and get to see Joe in action. It's really fun and good thing every week. And we really appreciate all of you. And thank you so much. And we'll see you next time.
Be well.